What's up, and welcome to the No Bullshit Manifestation Show. I'm your host, Kat Kozad, manifestation expert, money mindset and fulfillment coach, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur. Come sit with me while I spill the real tea on what it's like to practice using intentional manifestation, demystify all of the woo-woo and confusing bullshit that comes along with creating the life of your dreams, and give you a realistic view of what it's like to be on a personal, spiritual, and professional growth journey. The goal of this podcast is to support and guide you towards manifesting all of your dreams, shed light on the things that people are too scared to talk about, and encourage you to become the person who gets to have it all, be it all, and do it all. I am so happy you are here. Let's fucking do this thing. What's up, loves? Welcome back to another episode of the No Bullshit Manifestation Show. Holy fucking shit. Happy December 1st. How the hell did we get here? This year has felt like an eternity, and it also feels like it happened in a blink of an eye. So if anybody else feels that way, please let me know over on Instagram, because sometimes I just feel so tripped out by time. I know that we are the creators of time, and I know that time is actually a human construct, but like who I was at the beginning of this year versus who I am now and what my life looks like beginning of the year versus now is just like mind-blowing to me. And I know that this is all part of the beauty of being on an intentional manifestation journey, is like how quickly things change. But like, holy shit, this year has been wild. And I will definitely do a podcast episode this month of like a year in review, so that I can share more with you guys and give you some of my biggest takeaways and lesson from the year, because this year quite literally has kicked my shit so hard, or kicked the shit out of me, I should say. But it's also been the most abundant year of my life yet, and has brought me greater and greater things than I could have ever imagined. So I'm incredibly grateful for that. But as you can see from the podcast title today, we're going to be talking about me manifesting my dream apartment here in New York City, and how you can manifest your dream apartment. But I also want to share another story in addition to this. I was talking about this over on my Instagram a few weeks ago. So for all of you who follow me over on Instagram, you may have already heard part of this story. But I wanted to share it here on the podcast. And also for all of you who do not follow me on Instagram, what are you doing? Go follow me on Instagram. You can find me at Kat Kozad, KATCOZADD, because that is where you get like the vibes of my everyday life. And I will tell you, my life is a fucking vibe, and I'm so grateful for it. Living here in New York City, getting to travel all of the time, and just like showing you guys and taking you guys along for the journey is one of my favorite things. So yeah, if you listen to the podcast and you love the podcast, but you're not following me over on Instagram, definitely go follow me over on the gram, because you get lots of goodies from me on there on a daily basis. So with that being said, the story that I'm talking about, that I was talking about on my Instagram story a few weeks ago, is that I went to a psychic for the first time. And this was a really cool experience because, one, it was completely unexpected, and two, I had never really felt the need or like the calling to go to a psychic in the past. And so one of my best friends was in the city, and we were hanging out at a bar in the West Village because she was looking for her husband. We were looking for her husband because I want her to move to the city, and I know that the best bet of actually getting her here is making her fall in love with a New Yorker. So we were looking for her husband. We're hanging out with our other friend, and we look out the window of the speakeasy that we're in, and we see a psychic. And all of us were just like, should we go to the psychic instead? And so we did. We left. We didn't even go up to the bar and get a drink. And for all of you who listen to the podcast, you know that I don't drink, but I was just hanging at the bar with them anyways. And it's always fun to get a mocktail. I'm a mocktail queen. But so we go over to the psychic, and my friend, both my friends, they're incredibly skeptical, and they're like, like, don't know if we should do this, don't know if we should like actually pay this woman. And so I go first, and I had her do a tarot pull for me. And so she's shuffling the cards, she splits them, or she asks me to split them and then choose the cards that I feel most pulled towards, which there is very obviously like one stack of cards that I felt very pulled to. So I gave them to her, and she laid them out, and she was going through, and every single thing that she said confirmed every single thing that I am manifesting. So every single thing that she said about my career path, the steps that I'm taking, some of the new territory that I'm heading into with my path and with my career, which again, all of you will hear about on the No Bullshit Manifestation Show and on my Instagram when that is all coming together. But at the moment, that's something that I am keeping to myself. But yeah, it was so powerful to hear her reaffirm all of these things and just say what I've already known. Like intuitively, everything she said, I've already known for myself. And it was incredibly powerful to be validated in it from an external source that wasn't one of my best friends. Because of course, like your best friends are going to hype you up and be like, yeah, duh, like of course, you're going to make that happen. You're going to do this, you're going to do that. And it means the world that I have that love and support from my friends. But this psychic, all she knew about me was that my name is Kat. She didn't know my birth date. She didn't know my full name. She didn't know anything about me except from the fact that my name is Kat. And so one of the things that she said in this reading was that I was going to be moving. And it was funny because I was like, well, I just moved back from London to New York. So is that the move that she's talking about? And she was like, nope, that is not the move that I'm talking about. Like, is there an environment change that you've been thinking about? And I was like, well, I have an Airbnb until like the end of the year into January, but like I'm not making plans to move until then. And she was like, okay, well, there's something coming and it's good. It's like, it's a good move. It's going to be really good for you. And so over the past, how many weeks have I been back in New York? Like 4 weeks that I've been back in New York. I've been staying at an Airbnb. And for all of you who have been listening to the podcast and have been with me since the beginning of the podcast, since I moved to New York, I have lived in Airbnbs because getting full-time housing in the city as a self-employed person is incredibly challenging. And I knew this as I was moving to the city and knew that living in an Airbnb was going to be my best move because of that. And it wasn't until I am now entering the fourth year of my business that I finally had the level of documentation that they would need from me to be able to rent a full-time apartment in New York City. So I was staying at this Airbnb and it was great. It was cute. It had an awesome balcony. There was a great view of the Empire State and the Chrysler Building and Madison Square Garden and like just a lot of beautiful things. But second day into being there were construction workers that showed up on the balcony. And I thought it was just like a week-long thing and I wasn't taking any calls that week. So I was like, okay, it's fine. Like I'll just spend more time out than what I was planning. And then getting into the next 2 weeks of being there, the construction was happening every single day from 7 o'clock in the morning till 5 p.m. in the afternoon. And I was going absolutely crazy. My central nervous system was shot. I felt like I was constantly stressed out and on edge while I was at the Airbnb. And I looked into moving into a different Airbnb, but literally every single thing was rented out. And so I reached out to the host of the Airbnb and told him what was going on. And he was very understanding and said, if you want to move out earlier than the dates that you had originally planned for, then I'd be happy to accommodate that. So immediately I went and I started touring apartments in the city. And there was the apartment that I found that I'm currently living in that literally checked every single box that I had for an apartment. It's like literally the apartment that I had scripted about, that I had been manifesting for such a long time. And I knew as soon as I walked into this apartment that like this was it. So I started the application process and I submitted all of my documents. And when they came back to me, they said, okay, sorry, we can't approve you because you're self-employed for this reason and this reason. And if you have other supporting documents, please send them in to see if we can like validate you and qualify you for the apartment based off of that. So I sent in a CPA letter, a verified income letter from my CPA. I sent in all of my tax returns. I sent in my personal bank statements, my personal savings, my business bank statements, my business savings, and they wouldn't accept any of these things because I was self-employed. And so it came down to then trying to figure out a loophole of how I could get this apartment. And the only way that they said that I would be able to get this apartment was if I had a family member that made 80 times the rent that would be willing to be a co-applicant for this apartment, which that wasn't an option for me. And so I asked if I could get a third party guarantor. They said no. And literally like I exhausted every single resource that was possible to be able to move into this apartment and be qualified to live here. And I was in the midst of all of this, feeling the emotion of how frustrating it was, but also holding the knowing and the trust that everything works out in my favor. I was 1000% frustrated and was 1000% feeling the emotion of how challenging it was to be living in this Airbnb where I literally couldn't get a moment of peace because of the construction. But there was something deep inside me that knew that even though on the external it looked like nothing was working out in my favor, that the universe was going to support me in some sort of way. And so I released the outcome. I said, whatever happens, happens. I know that like the universe is always here to support me. I know that I'm always being guided. I'm always being loved. So therefore, whatever happens, happens. And I continue to take action on it because that is one of the biggest things in our manifestations is that we have to take action on them. And a lot of the times, this is something that I see in the world of like manifestation and spirituality is that they think that when things aren't going the way that they're supposed to, quote unquote, the way that they're supposed to, that is signs from the universe that you're not supposed to be walking down that path. And like, that is a bunch of bullshit. That is not true in the slightest. And what is true is that when we are about to have our greatest breakthrough, when we are about to receive our manifestation, when we are on the brink of something great, the universe is going to send you lessons. The universe is going to send you obstacles to ask you to step into your power, to ask you to rise above, to ask you to remain in a higher and greater vibration when it would be easier to go back to the ego, to go back to patterns of the past, to slip into patterns and conditioning that does not support you. And the universe does this to say, well, how bad do you actually want it? How bad do you actually want it? And what are you going to do to continue to rise above and show up in your power right now? And so that is what I did. I decided to, instead of call the office, I walked down to where the office was, and I had been into the office 3 or 4 times that week because I was refusing to call and have conversations over the phone. I wanted to see the manager face to face, and I wanted to be in his energy, and I wanted him to feel my energy. And although he was outsourcing the application approval, me coming in there, he really grew to like me, and he really grew to believe and trust that I am the kind of person that they want living in this apartment building. And so I walked in there on Friday, 11/11. It was November 11th. And I knocked on his door. He opened it up. I said, "Oh my gosh, you're probably so tired of seeing me." And he said, "Oh my gosh, no, you're actually the person that I'm looking for." I was like, "Oh yeah?" And so I sat down at his desk, and he let me know that I was approved for the apartment, and that he thought it was a bunch of bullshit that they were not approving my application given the fact that I'm so qualified for the apartment, and just because I'm self-employed there shouldn't be a reason that they weren't taking my documents. So he went to the corporate office to bat for my case and got me approved for this apartment against all odds. And so I got this news on 11/11, and I got keys for my apartment the following Monday, which was 11/14. And now I am here. I'm fully living here. No more Airbnbs. I am like locked in. I am fully living in New York City, which I am so fucking happy about. And I am slowly but surely starting to like furnish this place and make it home. And I share this story because I know that there's so many of you out there who want to manifest your dream apartment and manifest your dream home, and you feel as though that it's not possible. It's not realistic. It's not doable. There's too many things standing in the way. The money, the loopholes, the things that you have to make happen in order to get into the place that you want. And I want this story to be evidence of the fact that you can and will manifest what you want, especially your dream home, against all odds. And with that, like I said throughout this, is like oftentimes chaos and our hardest moments happen before our greatest breakthroughs. So if it feels like you've been working uphill against something and it just won't happen, it's in those moments that you can surrender the outcome and say, okay, it may not happen the way that I want it to, and that's okay. It may not look the way that I thought it was going to, and that's okay. While simultaneously continuing to hold yourself in the knowing and the trust that you get to have what you want or something greater, that the universe recognizes that you are the vibrational match for your manifestations. It's not in the moments where the universe throws you a curveball and you give up and you're like, oh fuck, I can't do it. Oh fuck, this isn't for me. I guess that all of these signs are just the universe trying to steer me away from having all of the things that I want. It's like, no, that is where we truly get to step into being resilient. That is where we truly get to step into being in integrity with our belief system and with our word. If I was to walk away and just be like, oh, fuck, like nothing's working out in my favor, I guess I can't have what I want, that would go against every single thing that I show up here on this podcast and say. I believe that I always get to have what I want, even and especially when it doesn't make sense, even and especially when there are obstacles, even and especially when there is a fuck ton of chaos that happens before I get it. But I will never give up on those things because I know that I get to have what I want. I know that I'm good at this. I know, I fully believe that this works. And so when it comes to you manifesting your dream apartment, when it comes to you manifesting your dream career, the money, the partner, whatever it may be, The key is creating that unwavering belief, that unwavering faith and trust in yourself that you get to. Just because. Not having to validate it, not having to justify it. Like, I don't need to show up and be like, oh, well, I am worthy of this apartment because I make the money and I love it here and I want to live in New York and all of the things. It's like, no, I get to have this apartment because I want it. Because I want it. We don't have to validate or justify why we deserve the things that we deserve in our lives. We deserve them just because. We are worthy of them just because. One of the things that I see so often, especially in American society, is like having to justify and validate why we do the things that we do. We like have to over-explain our existence. And it's like, no, we get to because. I get to because. And that is one of the most powerful things that you can do for your belief systems is like understand that you do not have to validate why you are choosing to believe in something. You're choosing to believe in something because you do. Who cares if Aunt Sally or Uncle Jared or Tammy from down the road or your mom or your dad wants to know why? It's not their life, it's yours. And so bringing this back to you manifesting what you want, and specifically in this experience and this topic, your dream home, your dream apartment, is getting clear on that vision for yourself. What does it look like for you? What do you want it to feel like? What are the things that are important to you? For me, it was the floor-to-ceiling windows. It was the location. It was the views. It was the light. Those are the things that are so important to me. It was the feeling inside of this place. I walked in and it felt safe. I've walked into other places and it has not felt safe and it hasn't had the feeling and the embodiment that I wanted in it, even though it crossed off the other things on the list that I wanted. So it's like, what do you want it to look like? What do you want it to feel like? Getting clear on that vision. And then understanding that because you have that vision, you are capable of manifesting it. You are capable of manifesting it because we cannot see what is not available to us. So because you can see it, it is available to you. And from that position, it's then understanding that all you have to do is create the faith, the belief, the knowing, the trust in yourself and in the fact that it will manifest. In that belief, in that trust, in that knowing, you are emitting out the energy into the universe that allows the universe to conspire in your favor. And then you get to take the aligned and inspired action to make it happen. And the aligned and inspired action may look way different than what you think it does. Did I think that I was going to have to come down to the office at this apartment complex 5 times in 1 week to have a conversation with the general manager? No, absolutely not. I thought it was going to be fucking seamless, effortless. I thought it was going to be like, oh, she submitted an application, she's immediately approved, and she's in the door. But it didn't happen that way. Because oftentimes, we have to go through different lessons in order to evolve. That doesn't make us any less worthy of it. That doesn't mean that the universe isn't conspiring in our favor. That doesn't mean that you should take those signs and say that, oh, I guess that this isn't for me. No, it means that you still get to have what you want and you can still continue to fight for what you want and take the aligned and inspired action to get what you want, because that is what is going to show and prove to the universe that you stick by your desires. You stick by your word. You stick by your beliefs. We have to show up in integrity with our belief systems. And what I mean by that is like we must embody the actions and the behaviors that align with what we are choosing to believe. And so, like an example of this could be being in integrity with your belief system. An example of that can be like, let's say you are becoming a business owner and you are switching from living the 9-to-5 and having that consistent paycheck to being your own business owner, having to get clients or customers of some sort of type, and it not being consistent in the way that it has been in the past. Oftentimes, what we can do or what happens is you'll create the supportive belief system. You'll start to do the inner work surrounding like money and jobs and worthiness and customers and all of the different things, and create this belief system and this embodiment of like that next level version of yourself. And then in the process of that, you'll believe that you are going to attract in all of the clients, you are going to attract in all of the money to make it so that it's far better than anything that you ever experienced in the 9-to-5, but it doesn't happen immediately. And it doesn't happen immediately because the universe is responding to your vibration and waiting until you are the vibrational match for it. And so in those moments where it doesn't happen as quickly as you thought it was going to, or it doesn't happen in the way that you thought it was going to, you must remain in the energy of the fact that it is going to work. It is going to be successful. It is going to bring you everything that you want and more. And instead of wavering in that because there's no physical evidence of it yet, choosing to rise up into the embodiment of the version of yourself who's already seeing that level of success, stepping into your power and remaining in that energy, even though it may be easier to freak out and think about how big of a mistake you've made and say that you need to go back to the 9-to-5 job or any of these things from the past that are going to create that comfort for you. It's like, no. Stick in your power, remain in a position of truth and knowing and trust inside of yourself that everything is working out in your favor. Because when you can do that and surrender the outcome of how it needs to look, that is when the universe delivers. That is when it actually all manifests. When we release our grip on control. And when we act in alignment and in integrity with the beliefs and with our higher version of ourselves. So, bringing this back to the apartment one last time. Whatever it is that you desire in a home, get clear on that for yourself. And then know that you get to have that. No matter what your circumstances look like right now, no matter what you feel as though the world is saying to you, the universe is saying to you in terms of evidence and the fact that you can't, that is not true. Those are just opportunities for you to rise above. And then take the aligned and inspired action to make this a reality. Because the apartment's not just going to land and fall in your lap. You must take action in order to make this a reality. So do it. And watch your miracle and your dream home unfold in the process of it. So that is my story of how I manifested my apartment, or what happened in the process of manifesting my apartment. I hope that these words have been of encouragement to you in you manifesting your dream home as well. And if you loved this podcast episode, I would love for you to let me know over on Instagram. And you can also let me know any of the other topics you want me to chat about on the podcast. I am always here and wanting to chat with y'all over on Instagram in my DMs. So you can shoot me a message at katcozadd, KATCOZADD. And there's going to be, like I said at the beginning of this podcast episode, lots of fun things that I am posting over on my IG that I do not get to share on here because it's just a different form of content. So yeah, definitely be sure to connect with me over on Instagram. Lots of goodies over there. And I am sending you all of my love. Happy December. Let's fucking crush it the last month of this year. Oh my gosh, thank you for listening to today's episode. I am so grateful to have these no bullshit talks with you. If you enjoyed today's episode or the podcast as a whole, please spread the love by leaving me a review on iTunes or sharing the podcast with others. This is how I will be able to spread more of these good vibes and be able to make more of an impact on the lives of others. And if you're not already part of all of the goodness and communities that I have to offer, check out the show notes. I have links to the different ways that I can support you on your manifestation journey and help you live a life full of more money, fulfillment, and freedom. But that is all for now. So big love and hugs, and I will chat with you soon, babe.